What is something unrealistic that you often see in movies that annoys the hell out of you? People doing CPR. Then the person who just got CPR wakes up like 10 minutes later and eats lunch. Also, movies are really bad at maintaining sterile fields in operating rooms. High schoolers who look like ducking supermodels. Everybody acting like the heroine is plain. She's wearing glasses and a baggy sweater and a ponytail, but her face is perfect. Her teeth are perfect. Her skin is perfect and she hasn't got an ounce of fat anywhere. The way gifts are wrapped. They're always in boxes with actual lids, like shoe boxes, not ones with flaps, and the lid is wrapped separately from the box so when they open the present, they just lift the lid. Also, if there's a ribbon wrapped around it, the ribbon's not taped on and slides right off. Has anyone ever done this in real life? Misunderstandings with dire consequences that could easily be cleared up if the protagonist just said something, anything. People getting knocked out cold for an hour, then waking up and going about their day like nothing's happened. I once got knocked out for like 2 minutes and ended up sick for a month. Say it. Just casually rolling over after having sex. Like no cleanup, no awkward run to the toilet. Who are these people? Edit. Holy balls, I've just finished a night shift and seen this has blown up. Thanks for the awards, my after 6 hobblers. Calling someone and then instantly start talking. I don't know why exactly, but that has really bothered me. You didn't even let it ring. Casually strolling away from a massive explosion. As a guy who works with computers, pretty much any computer scene, especially hacking scenes, if I bypass the firewall using a SQL protocol, I can load the XML into the CSS stack and update the database across the JavaScript and SVG streams, and I'm in. Much of that is legitimate terminology, but used in a very wrong manner. Omniscient bad guys. I know you have to have the plot move forward, but dude is trying to hide in Europe and somehow the villain is always where the hero wants to go before they get there. I mean, Europe is pretty damn big, and I can't imagine getting totally lost there would be all that difficult. I always enjoy watching lab scenes. People looking into microscopes that aren't even turned on or plugged in. No one has gloves on or their hair pulled back. Unrelated formulas scrolled on whiteboards. And always, I mean all ducking ways, if they are in a lab, be it a biology lab, physics, what have you, there will be chemistry glassware too. Gun silencers being that quiet. In reality they're like the sound of someone clapping. High school scenes where there are lounges in the hallway and students are free to be wherever they want to be around the building. No matter the time of day without consequence. When two characters do something simple like glancing at each other and then the romance has started. If a man and a woman bump into each other and some music plays, that's enough to ensure the romance has begun. I bump into guys all the time. Where's my boyfriend? The old you cough, you die. Opaque beverage cups and are always empty and never look right when hefted and drank from. They could at least put water in them to get the motion right, but never do. And once you start noticing this, it just ruins so many shots for you because it looks so stupid. Edit. Meant cups and mugs. Edit. Drank should be drunk. What's wrong now, Carla? Well, big sister, you just haven't been the same since you had that run-in with your classmate Peter at the bar, where I've been working since I dropped out of college, due to having an abortion. Someone gets hit so hard that they fly through a wall, then they get up and keep fighting. No, you're going to spend the next year learning to walk again. My son-in-law is a video game programmer and it drives him crazy when in cop shows movies they use a computer to search for a match to fingerprints or a face and the screen scrolls with the images flashing on the screen. He's like, do you know how much computing power it takes to render all those images? The computer doesn't need to flash them on the screen. People living in these gigantic NY or LA apartments while working jobs that realistically could never pay for such a nice place. How bad the villains always are at shooting. Don't get me wrong, Star Wars won't be the same if Luke gets scalped by a stormtrooper 30 minutes into the first movie, but good god are they bad. Nobody opens the door 2 seconds after the doorbell rings. Nobody. Everyone always answers their phone, usually on the first ring, and no matter where you are, you have perfect reception. Sometimes in 6 scenes, the guy will just undo his belt and immediately stick his piece right in. No foreplay, no lube, just immediately right in within seconds. My wife and I call it Mad Men style 6 because almost every 6 scene in Mad Men was like this. I know it does happen, but Hollywood thinks Al 6 is immediately penetrative, and the woman is coming immediately. I am 76 years old and have been buying things in stores since I was 5. I have never ever seen someone toss some money on a counter and say keep the change and then dash out with the purchase. When the entire plot rests on a character not explaining something that can be explained in under 1 minute. Characters making the dumbest most unrealistic choices just to further the plot. Unnecessary 6 scenes that add nothing whatsoever to the movie. Ordering at a restaurant and only taking 1 bite and leaving. In a post-apocalyptic world, somehow all cars on the road are parked or stranded in such a way that our main character has no problem driving between them. Witness protection somehow always fails in movies. The disregard for basic physics. Most fight scenes. Bar fight. Guy gets hit with 6 broken chairs. Several bottles broken over his head. Still gets up fine and fights off like 20 other guys. Real fighting is the most physically exhausting thing you can do. Your average person would barely last a minute. Most street fights are 1 of 2 punches before they get winded. Athletes have to do insane amount of endurance training and conditioning to be able to fight. 3 minutes in the ring will feel like a lifetime. Beyond that, too many such injuries will completely knock you out or be fatal. Again, on the street, if you punch someone, knock them out, and their head hits pavement, there is a fair chance you just killed them. Even then, most head injuries you just don't get up and keep fighting from. But because of Hollywood, every jackass thinks they can't take on 20 guys at once or would do awesome in a fight. When the mum prepares a feast for breakfast and everyone only takes a bite or 2 before rushing off, my mum would have killed me for wasting food. Also, she wouldn't prepare a feast for breakfast. Mostly in rom-coms, people randomly running into each other out in public. Like, how small is your town that you bumped into the same person 3 days in a row at a restaurant bar shop? Overall lack of communication. I feel like 90% of all drama is coming from this in some way. Everything is always so dark, and no one ever bothers to turn the lights on. Even when they do, it's like a 10W bulb in a warehouse that only illuminates 2 feet around it. Stalkerish behavior being portrayed as romantic. A man in a relationship being portrayed as an ear-brained doofus. Killing of nameless characters like it's nothing, then pretending like the protagonist is a hero and a good person. Also sacrificing hundreds of nameless characters just to save a love interest. Childbirth. Water breaks. You go immediately to the hospital. It's time to push. She pushes 3 times and immediately reverts to her pre-pregnancy state. Also, her hair and makeup are immaculate. A bonus in unbelievability for surprise twins, a sudden marriage proposal, or a newborn who is clearly 6 months or older. Someone shooting 10,683 rounds from a 1911 without reloading. Hanging up the phone without saying anything at the end of a conversation. No matter the location or how crowded it is, there's always a parking space right exactly where someone's going to. Women in historical drama wearing corsets directly against their skins. Back then clothes were expensive, so people had to wear an additional layers of chemise or shift made from linen that can be frequently washed. It annoys me to no end when sexy scenes show sad dudes just pulling couple strings, then historical ladies be butt naked in the matter of seconds, while in reality you'd be needing an appointment and 3-5 business days before shorty finishes disrobing. How they fantasize relationships between men and women. No one acts like that, and it can put unreasonable expectations in the head of teenagers and young adults who are just starting to date. Organizing a date without mentioning time, place, day etc. It's just an I'll pick you up tonight. Computer work is only done via vigorous typing on the keyboard, never a single mouse click. Horses neighing all the time, neighing when they're running, neighing when they're eating. Horses don't neigh that much. The whole blood ritual pact where they slice their palms. I've talked about this before. because it pisses me off how so many movies and TV shows have this trope. It originated because it was an easy place for them to hide a blood packet back when special effects weren't what they are today. But I don't think Hollywood will evolve from that. It's so dumb though, because if you've ever had a cut on the palm of your hand, you would know that's a terrible place to make a wound. It's such an awkward injury and you pretty much lose the use of that hand. Plus it can take a while to heal. There are much better places to draw blood from, yet we still see it all the time. And on top of that, the characters are fine in the scenes after, or in the case of shows like Supernatural and The 100, they are making fists and fighting with no problem. Whenever they turn the TV on, it's not a commercial, not a soap opera on daytime television. No, it's always the news clip of the exact thing that pertains to what they were talking about 5 seconds earlier. When the plot completely ignores the events that just happened to take a wild twist. When people are driving and randomly moving the steering wheel back and forth while also looking solely at the passenger they're talking to and never once at the road. Once I started driving, I realized how sensitive the wheels are and how the tiniest adjustment with steering makes the whole car go side to side. Yo, the nerdy guy gets the hottest, baddest, coolest, funniest girl on earth. I'm still waiting. The cocking hammer sound when the actor is holding a striker-fired pistol, shucking a pump-action shotgun after you aim it at someone, as if to punctuate whatever the actor's lines are, but you never see a live round fly out, which implies they were aiming a weapon at someone with an empty chamber. That can get you killed. Roll. Lol. The lack of realistic recoil when firing weapons. The portrayal in war movies especially, of individual soldiers wielding full auto weapons, unless it's a crew-served weapon, or vehicle mounted. Full auto fire is a waste of ammo and you likely won't hit it. Calm, well-aimed semi-auto fire can very often carry the day against spray and praise. I've seen it 1,000 times. The hard part is staying calm and not flipping the giggle switch in a panic. Lol. And don't even get me started on weapons and less mag size. Holding a gun sideways to shoot. Realistic wealth. Typical family with one working parent has a 4-bedroom house with in-ground pool. College graduates living in some swanky penthouse on a babysitter salary. 24-year-old doctors. Sprinklers going off indoors. When this happens in the movies, people are super excited, laughing, jumping around and playing in the water like it is raining. In reality, the water in those pipes is absolutely disgusting. Dirty, smelly, black water that would make most people run like hell to get away from. Source: I used to install sprinklers in buildings during my high school summers as a part-time job. Women in post-apocalyptic times, with shaved armpits and eyebrows on fleek. The lockdown alone has turned me into a gorilla. Edit: my first award. Thank you, stranger. People shooting guns, especially pistols, from well over a reasonable range and hitting very small targets with one hand while running or something. People would be surprised how difficult it is to hit a target with a pistol from 15-20 yards standing still with two hands. There's never a platonic relationship between a guy and a girl. It's always romantic by the end. People never mumble duck up sentences. I duck up sentences all the time. Not locking the damn car once they got out and start walking away. People not saying goodbye when they're finished talking on the phone. Playing video games, randomly mashing all buttons at the same time and pressing R1/L1 and R2/L2 for no reason. When people brush their teeth and there's clearly no toothpaste, no spit, no foam, no dribble. People pass out instantly from chloroform. I work at a wet chemistry lab and have used chloroform as an extraction solvent outside of the fume hood. It does not knock you out that easily. People not running or getting in their cars when a killer is chasing them. Like, just get in a damn car and go. How long you can hold your breath underwater. Broke people living in giant houses, apartments in high-cost cities. People screaming the reactor is critical when there is something terribly wrong with a nuclear plant. Reactor should be critical when normally operating. It means that the power level is steady. The good guys always winning. Anytime, and I mean anytime someone is supposed to be welding, usually using a MIG gun to make grinder sparks in a totally inapplicable situation, or TIG welding with oxy goggles on. Bye face skin. Whiskey, just leave the bottle. The family dog, or kids, are only in 5% of the scenes. I can't get away from mine. Women in bed with makeup still on. I know actors gotta be wearing some because it looks better on camera. I mean more like those scenes where a couple is going to bed and the woman still has the same full face of makeup on she was wearing during the day. Just tone it down a bit, you know. Everyone being able to see underwater perfectly with no goggles or anything. People never cleaning up or going to the bathroom after 6. They either just turn around and sleep or get up and leave. No throwing the condom out. No wiping off catching the cum. It's very clear which movies shows don't do their research when it comes to representing the military. It's not a movie, but I made a post about the show Virgin River and how ignorantly they portray a community of veterans in case you're unaware. Anyone who has ever worn a uniform is basically a more virtuous version of Captain America. The stereotypical scene where the protagonist flies to a new city country and they have a shot of a plane landing at sunset. The plane and airport almost never match the flight they actually took. It's pretty often for someone to fly to Cleveland, but the shot they show is a 747 landing in LA. Most people wouldn't notice, but it bugs me every time I see it. 9mm handguns can cause car engine blocks to explode. Everlasting magazine capacity. Consequently no one ever runs dry or reloads. Why the John Wick films were so good, being none of those things. Airlocks on spaceship. The doors always open inwards in real life. Almost never in movies. Female uniformed soldiers with hair down or sexy styled. I roll. That's a huge no lol. Women with perfectly shaped eyebrows, shaved legs, armpits, and pretty hair in post-apocalyptic movies. The hero getting shot in the shoulder or thigh and the only side effect is them spending the rest of the scene heroically limping while clutching the affected limb and having blood ooze out onto their hands. Your shoulders and thighs are filled with muscles and blood vessels that allow you to manipulate all the joints in your arms and legs. If you get shot in one of those places, there's an excellent chance you'll lose partial or full control of that limb and you will be at high risk of bleeding out. It is absolutely not a trivial injury. This one annoys me a lot, because it carries over into real life. Ever hear someone in the aftermath of a police shooting asking, why couldn't they have just winged him and aimed for the arms or the legs? Which demonstrates both an extreme overestimation of how accurate guns are, especially during a tense confrontation, and a complete misunderstanding of how dangerous those injuries are. On a more mundane note, the fact that when people brush their teeth in movies and TV, they always spit and never ducking rinse afterwards. Not even their sink or their toothbrushes, which just magically become clean. Duck me. What the hell is wrong with you? You psychopaths. Tiny American towns in Christmas movies made after 2005 where everyone is attractive and employed. The villain has the hero in chains and is perfectly capable of killing him but is apparently too proud and stupid to do so. Then somehow the hero escapes and kills the villain at the end of the movie. Nearly everyone is beautiful, and if they are not beautiful, that lack of beauty is a direct reflection of some aspect of their character. Every birth, it's like, it's exactly my due date, my water just broke, I'm immediately in intense, active labor, everyone is frantic, now I have a baby within minutes to an hour, not to mention a huge percentage of birth emergencies. It really gives people super unrealistic expectations, though it's totally not surprising given how bad sex ed is in the US. Misrepresenting, dramatizing mental illnesses. That getting shot in the shoulder is no big deal. That arm slings are curative. That cauterizing a wound is ever a good idea if you aren't a surgeon. I have to. 1. Sounds and space. 2. Hacking. Noise is being heard in outer space. In a vacuum, there is nothing to carry the sound waves that would be made by explosions, engine noise, and weapons firing. Medieval plate armor somehow has all the defense of a wet paper bag while weighing a metric ton. Why wear something that weak against swords if it weighs so much? Why have it produced in high number for historically elite warriors? No one tried using their brain at any point when asking these questions.